Yes.
So I'm going to ask Superintendent of Dodge Schools, Annette Thompson, is here. If you wanted to go first, that would be great.
I'd be glad to go first.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll pass that one to you and then Cindy.
Yep.
So you can probably want
And you can just stand. I think most people in the room are here, so you can just stand kind of in your place if you want to, and just address kind of the whole room so people can hear your questions. So, but thank you.
You're welcome. I want to say thank you to you first. I recognize that in this kind of heated political environment to come and have a listening session, there's an element of risk involved, and so I'm grateful for your willingness to come and hear what we have to say. I'm responsible for a $10 million budget, and I recognize the complexity of all the moving parts in that, and I cannot imagine what it is to amplify that so many times like you're doing with the state budget. So again, I have an appreciation for the difficulty that you have.
Okay.
I did prepare a handout because some of what I'm talking about has some charts and graphs, and I find data easier to understand when there's a visual of it. So I'm sorry if you don't have that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do a good job of describing it, and also be really short because it's probably like a time limit.
Sure.
All right. Well, first of all, I am here to speak in favor of the governor's proposed budget in support of public education. You know, we are certainly operating very lean, and you're going to see data here in this handout that tells you the Dodge School District is a low-spending school district. And I'll get to that in a minute, but we definitely need that influx of new money in order to balance our budget, much less to be able to grow the programs that we want to have. And so we would appreciate your support for that per pupil category A as a temporary solution to what I think is a long-term issue that we're going to have to look at, and that's how do we fund public education in a sustainable way.
Right.
But for the present time, I definitely want to be on the record as being in support of that $200 per student category A. The other thing that's really important to schools is what the governor's put in there for mental health. We are seeing more and more students who are coming to us with significant needs, and we need help with that. And you know, we don't shy away from that. We recognize that we are in a unique and wonderful position to be that for our children. We want to have that, but the funding is just that we need the resources to make that happen. So we're in favor of that as well. And for Dodgeland, we also support the new tiers that he has in place for sparsity aid and the high cost transportation aid. That does give us a little bit more money. The former formula, there was no money for Dodgeland. In the current one, there will be some money. I will say though, if the requirement to have our employees pay the 12% for the health insurance is in place, we're going to need time to get that in place. We are in an open enrollment window currently for health insurance decisions, and so staff are currently making their decisions. So our health insurance plan is in place for the 17-18 school year, so I would ask if that's going to be a requirement that you give us some time to get that in order. Currently, our employees pay 10% of a high deductible plan. There are no co-pays, so they pay all of the costs of their medical care, dental care, vision care. So we hope that that meets the spirit of this Acton compliance. But just if not, I would ask that we give some consideration to allowing us to get that in order.
Sure.
The other thing that I think is important, and on the front page of what I'm talking about, and some of this is about our county. It's about Dodge County. Dodge County is a declining population county. So it's not surprising that our schools are experiencing declining enrollment. And when the funding formula is based on student enrollment, then we have concerns because the student enrollment is what gives us our revenue limit. And so with the revenue limit, and you can see on the document that I handed, has gone down significantly. At the same time, our transportation costs, our special ed costs, certainly our wages and our benefits have gone up. It's very difficult to meet the needs of our students because we're doing so much with less and less. And so declining enrollment is a problem, not just for us, but for most school districts. In fact, 3/4 of the school districts in the state of Wisconsin are in declining enrollment. And so it's not just our concern, it's statewide, and I know you're very well aware of that. If you go to the second page of the handout, I do want to talk about equalized valuation of property, because somewhat unique to Dodgeland is that we are a district that has unique challenges, and that's where the support of the state is critically important to us. You can see that we have the lowest equalized valuation of property in Dodge County, and it's significantly lower. And that's what affects the mill rate. That's what affects some of those other statistics that we look at with schools. The other thing is we have the lowest adjusted gross income of any school district in Dodge County. So our kids come to us with needs of poverty, needs that we are here and we are ready to meet the challenge. We are absolutely ready to meet that head on. But our kids come to us with needs that are unique. And so we want to be able to have programs and the resources in place to truly do the work that we want to do. You can see the chart there when I talk about our revenue limit. You can see from 16-17, it's gone down $114,000 in 1 year's time. Our revenue limit dropped. And that's a significant matter for us. At the top of page 3, you can see the chart about our mill rate. This tells you we are a low spending school district. When the debt for our building is paid off in 2020, and your taxes will go down significantly,
Right.
we are going to be one of the lowest, we will have the lowest mill rate of any school district in Dodge County. We anticipate it being about $7.74. So that tells you we are operating a very lean budget. You can see a chart there that talks about our general state aid. It has decreased $327,000 since 2010, 2011. And then page 4, it has a piece about our budget. And I won't go into a lot of this because I recognize this is unique to Dodgeland. But special education is something I do want to put a spotlight on. Our costs for special education have gone up at the very time that our students that are being identified for disabilities is going down. Okay?
Right.
So what we have to do is we have to transfer money from our general fund to cover special education costs, and it has gone up every year. We anticipate next school year just shy of $900,000, and again, I'm talking about a $10 million budget going to cover special ed costs. That is as much as the debt for our building. We anticipate that being 11% of our budget. And again, I'm a former school psych. We embrace the idea of meeting the needs of all of our kids, and we accept that responsibility. But when the reimbursement rate has not gone up for a decade, that means less and less of the dollars that we have for our general fund can go to the other things that we want to do. And so I would ask if you could look at that reimbursement rate and see if there could be a way of increasing the amount that we get reimbursed. Even going from 26%, which is the current rate, up to 30% would be very helpful. Then I also put the health insurance changes in here. You can see that since 2010, 2011, the district has saved just shy of $300,000 by making health insurance changes. And so we feel like we have done, we've been prudent in how we've managed our budget, and we've taken advantage of the tools that were given to us in a way that also takes care of our staff, because this is an era of wanting to attract and retain the best. And so we're trying to find that sweet spot of balancing budget and also taking care of our great employees. And finally, on the last page, I gave you an impact of the governor's budget in 3 different scenarios. And you can see, even with the proposed categorical aid increase, I'm still anticipating a deficit of about $300,000. And finally, because I'm so proud of our school district, I'm so proud of the work that we're doing. We did a survey last year with our staff and our students and our families, and a lot of it was about how can we make Dodge an even better place. And a student in elementary said this, and this is really what I want to say is so important about the work that we're doing. When asked the question, how can we make Dodge better, the student said, make it my home. So what we're doing is so important, it's just invaluable. And our kids aren't going to get these experiences because they're not in youth groups. They're not able, as you know, we're a very rural district. They're not able to get to jobs. And so what we do at school is going to make the difference in our lives. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you for being here. Obviously, you covered a lot of ground there related to K-12. I would say just in a general sense, I think the Finance Committee and that the full legislature will be very close to Governor Walker on not only the money that he put into K-12, but probably we'll get into special needs and into, there'll probably be more elaborate school choice than what the governor had added, so that'll be something that the Finance Committee will take quite a bit of time on. So we've got a couple of other property tax related items that could have an impact, but for the most part, I think we'll be pretty close to where Governor Walker was.
I welcome that, Jill. If I could have another minute before I sit down. We're also watching what's happening at the federal level, and that is exceptionally concerning to us, and I appreciate all that you said in terms of the state support of our school district. Our entire professional development budget is Title IIA. It's $32,000. That's about what we get every year. That going away, that's another $32,000 I'm going to have to find somewhere in a budget, right, at an opposite, so that our teachers can grow. And so we're watching that piece with alarm, frankly, that we use those dollars, and what other profession doesn't have opportunities for its employees to go and learn, to go to conferences and to fine tune their skills. And so, I know that's not in your domain, but please understand we're watching that as another impact on our schools.
Yeah, there's a lot of items at the federal level right now that not just Wisconsin, but all the states are watching real closely to see what impact, not only what the president's budget had on us, but further kind of articulated by what's going on in the House of Representatives, as well as the U.S. Senate, but we just don't know what it's going to look like. So we're advancing, and I think most states are advancing the same way, which is kind of deal with the facts and figures that we have in front of us right now. And then if later on there is some movement in D.C., we'll probably have to go back and do, maybe revisit the budget process and a budget repair bill. That doesn't necessarily mean a budget repair bill doesn't necessarily mean that there's less revenue or different policy changes. It could be an increase, and we just don't know at this point. But when you're talking about Medicaid, infrastructure, education, all of those areas could be impacted by what goes on at the federal level this time. So we're kind of waiting. But thank you for coming today. Really appreciate it. Cindy Turk. Sorry about messing up people's names today too. So, yes, ma'am.
Well, I was here, I'm concerned about, some of the direction of healthcare, people going to. I just want to say, back, I worked for 14 years for a well-known medical, St. Mary's Ventures at Dixie.
Okay.
And I worked there for 14 years, and everything was good. I had good coverage, insurance, benefits, everything like that. And then all of a sudden, life kind of kicked my butt. And I found myself without a job because of medical concerns. So I just worry, for all people. I'm now a civilian, and I do get concerned with the talk that I hear about potential cuts in medical assistance and Medicaid, and for the little people, and the way the direction, like privatizing healthcare and things. I just wanted to say that, our voice is important. We may not contribute as much financially, but that doesn't mean we're not as important as the people that make more money than us. Because I try very hard.
thank you very much for being here. No, I mean, I think the level of frustration and kind of what we're seeing, not just at the state level, but at the national level, as many of the members of Congress have been holding their office hours all over the nation, and people are pretty upset with what's going on with the Affordable Health Care Act. I would tell you again, we don't, at the state level, doesn't matter who's in control, Republicans, Democrats, we don't necessarily have the silver bullet when it comes to Medicaid, Medicare, because so much of that is driven by the federal government. So a lot of times we go kind of hand in hand out to DC and then say, okay, will you give us a waiver so that we can create a program that best fits the state? And I think that's where you're seeing this go, is that, you know, listen, you can have, and you gotta remember, Obamacare only affects about 12% of the entire nation's population, but it's probably the most vulnerable group of people that we have within our healthcare system. So it's very important. So we want to get it right. I think, you know, to some extent Congress wants to get it right, although they've kind of botched it so far and mishandled it right out of the gate. You know, the U.S. Senate is not going to be anywhere near where the House of Representatives was in the bill that they just recently passed. So I think you're going to see significant changes. But what we've been saying, and I think in a somewhat unified voice amongst state legislatures and governors, is please give us the ability to design a program that fits our need. The state of Wisconsin is completely different than the state of Michigan when it comes to health care. We have 14, 15, 16 different healthcare delivery systems that existed before the Affordable Health Care Act. So very competitive, very diverse. We also had first high-risk pool for anyone who might have fallen through the cracks. We designed that here in Wisconsin, and we supported it in a bipartisan fashion. And then the last thing we have is probably the most developed HMO system really in the entire world, where a lot of those programs were not only created in Wisconsin but developed here. And a lot of the Affordable Health Care Act kind of put all that on hold. Well, guess what? Now I'm starting to hear discussions in DC where they're saying, geez, wouldn't that be great if the state could create all these smaller programs like this that are really efficient? And probably the most popular that we have is senior care, where you have a one-pager, seniors understand it, they fill it out, they go to the pharmacy, and they get their prescription drugs at an affordable rate. I mean, we did that. We created that. The Wisconsin legislature created that program. And we had to go to the feds for a waiver. And guess what? They've tried to pull it back a number of times and forced us to expand on Part D versus what senior care does. So if my message is the states are watching what's going on in DC very closely. We have been, obviously, even under the Affordable Health Care Act, as we've seen some of the major health organizations kind of pull out now as of late. So it's got to be fixed, but it's got to be done right. And in the meantime, if you're part of the Affordable Health Care Act, and if you're on Obamacare, it's in place right now. It's going to continue to be in place until they figure out what they're doing. So, but thank you very much for coming and telling your story. So, thank you very much. Deb Harmon?
Yeah.
Deb? Welcome.
Thank you. And thank you for listening today.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I have a question in regard to WDAC again, WDC. And it hit the paper again.
On what?
WDC, WDAC?
Oh yeah, WDC, Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation.
Yep, and it's 6 years old now, and I know it went through a lot of overhauling or supposed overhauling, whatever, and the State Journal reported in the Milwaukee Journal again today that after 6 years, still haven't seen the 250,000 jobs that Governor Walker developed that for. He's made it to maybe half of that in 6 years. That is of concern to me. We're 49th in
I completely agree
entrepreneurship.
with, not the level of
Well,
job
I'm-
creation,
you know, but-
that's not what WDC's mission is, but go ahead.
Well, that's what
Sorry.
Governor Walker had told us earlier. So, and I know you're not him, you can't speak for him and all that. The other thing is that it can't verify even the jobs that they do have. I mean, according to the paper, and I haven't gone in and looked at anything further, but this concerns me. We have transportation issues that we can't solve. We have educational issues that we're now starting to run two systems in education, which costs, I don't know how we're going to afford this. And yet we have a program that for 6 years hasn't shown its worth. And I guess I'm asking you is when do we ask the question, when do we dissolve this agency and look at something different? I mean, we keep spinning our wheels, and that is of concern to me that we're wasting millions and millions of dollars on this agency that hasn't produced in 6 years.
So I will say that early on, we were replacing the old Department of Commerce.
Right.
That in my estimation had run in the ditch. We were down to Hail Mary passes. Governor Doyle was making calls to CEOs, begging them to stay in Wisconsin as we continued to kind of see job loss, specifically in one sector, which was like manufacturing. So you fast forward to where we're at today. I'm not going to say that there hasn't been some really rough days with WDC, but if you look just down the road in Horicon, that brand new facility that John Deere just built, that's WDC money. If you look in Columbus.
But yet nationally, I just have to say, nationally, we're, depending which polls you read, we're 49th and 50th in job growth and entrepreneurship.
We just moved way up. We're moving up right
You
now.
need to go out and read.
We're moving up right now. Unemployment is continuing.
Well, but unemployment nationally is, we're still,
Well, what do you want us to do? Yeah, I mean, I can tell you right now, there are so many jobs available in the state of Wisconsin.
that's a minimum wage
That's not
that
our-
people need to earn to pay
No,
to
no,
get
no.
2 jobs. I disagree, we're gonna disagree on this, but what I am concerned about is bottom
Just
line.
go right down the road. John
We
Deere's
can-
hiring.
One place, and 1,400 are leaving Ford and da, da, da,
Generac
da,
in
da.
Columbus, same thing, right on
We can argue,
151.
I don't want to do that.
No.
What I want you to listen and just understand is, we question accountability in public education so much that we have to start a voucher in a private school choice system. We're trying to pay for 2 systems of education, yet we can't pay for transportation. We have no money, and we've been kicking that can down the road. I know they asked you a week or 2 ago, and then you gave no response as to whether you approve or would consider the gas tax, whatever, but we keep kicking programs down and we keep attacking other programs, and yet this is the governor's program, his baby, and for 6 years it has not produced what it said, and we're still putting millions of dollars into this agency. That's what I'm questioning.
I disagree, I completely disagree that WDC is not.
Could you send me some information, factual, statistic information on the agency?
Absolutely.
I need my answers, thank you.
Absolutely. The old Department of Commerce wasn't functioning.
Well-
This model, the private sector corporation model has worked in other states.
But it
And
has here.
Oh, sure it has, sure it has. You know, I'm not gonna say there haven't been a few bumps along the way, but it's in pretty good shape right now. And I would ask, what would we replace it with?
Well, that's
What do you wanna go
why
back
we
to?
let you.
What do you wanna go back
Get
to?
together. There's
Yeah.
gotta be other things we can do. If something isn't working, we'll get the same results if we don't change it. So next year I can anticipate that we will still not have the job growth, that will end up being 49th or 50th in the nation again. Minimum wage. I mean, we've got to, I'll be honest with you, there are people in the legislature who don't even believe in holding to a minimum wage.
Quad Graphics is hiring right now $17 an hour in Hartford. $17 an hour, and they can't find anybody. My point is that is not the issue. The issue is the skills gap. There are a number of positions that are wide open that we need to continue to work to make sure that these people get the skills that they need.
And
a lot of-
transportation to get
And
there.
a lot of it is OJT, almost all of it. I mean, if you talk to employers right now, they say, if you can run a smartphone, you can run many of the different items within a factory, especially like manufacturing, printing industry, all of these industries. So that's really where the challenge is, I think, is to try and
So
get
it's
these
the
people up
training.
to speed. Training.
And where's money for that going to come unless, because we keep decreasing taxes in the state of Wisconsin? You
Thank
can't
you.
have both.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Betty Musin? Betty?
Thank you for coming in, Mr. President.
Thank you.
The question that I have is about health insurance between employees. And this might be of interest to you because I think it could save the state some money. Right now, state employees only have the option of a single plan or a family plan. Once the couple is married and your kids are older than 26 years old, they are not eligible to be part of the family plan.
Correct.
So I don't understand why the state doesn't consider having like an employee plus one, say for like a married couple who don't have their children have aged out. And I believe it's about $300 a month difference. So the HMOs are charging that additional money, but yet, like I said, once your kids age out, you're not using that benefit. So you're talking $300 a month, which is $3,600 a year, times how many maybe employees are in that position. The Veterans Hospital, I believe, has a system like that. It said it's a couple or a one employee plus one. And the UW might have that as well. So it would be really nice if the state would look into that. as a way to save